Welcome to another episode of Model with Mel. Today we're going to be working on the detail section of the exterior. So what does that mean? We're going to be adding fascia board, we're going to be adding corner boards, we're going to be adding water tables, all of the trim pieces that are on the exterior of a building that really give it depth. We're going to be doing that today on the residential project we've been working on every week for 6 weeks. So this is the 6th episode. We're continuing a model from previous weeks. It's a residential plan that I'm bringing to life in Revit, and today we're going to bring out the depth of the exterior with all of our trim pieces. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So I'm going to turn around. Also, peep the new sign, the Designs Unbound sign. So exciting. I'm going to turn the camera around. On Instagram, I'm live streaming to YouTube my screen so you can see everything I'm doing in Revit and you can follow along. And I'm going to flip around the Instagram so you can see what I'm doing as well. So let's just get started and start working on these detail pieces for our exterior, and you'll see where we left off. Alright, I'm precariously placing my phone up against my podcast mic so you can see on Instagram what I'm doing. But the live stream straight from my screen is going to YouTube, and the replay will also live on YouTube. So we're going to be adding detail to this. This is where we left off the other day. I'm also going to play some like lo-fi hip-hop beats in the background, so let me know if it's too loud and you can't hear me. I think it's really low. I don't think you guys might not even be able to hear it, but I'm playing it in the background just for me. Alright. Alright, I'm just getting the live stream set up on YouTube to make sure that I can see you guys chatting in the chat box on YouTube. Alright, we're good to go. So we're going to be doing depth. We're going to add trim, fascia board, soffit boards, all of the good stuff that really take this model from just windows and walls and a roof to actually something that has detail and could be a good rendering on its own straight from Revit. So bear with me if my phone falls again. Again, it's just precariously propped up. No stand worked really good, so I had to be an engineer here. Alright, so let's do the fascia trim first. Let's go to the roof, and now we will do a roof fascia. And over here in the properties bar, it's going to tell us, can't really see on Instagram because again my phone is propped up weird, but we're going to select a profile. So 1x12, 1x10, 1x8. We could also make our own. Here what we can do is we can go into the type properties, and you'll see that again it's going to be real risky having my phone propped up like this on Instagram. So I've been going back and forth with the format of the Instagram live, so bear with me. Last week it was just me on my face, and I was trying to do it so that this week you guys could also see what I was doing on Instagram on Revit, but I just can't get my phone to stay. It's really bothering me, and it's gonna keep bothering me, so I'm gonna move you guys back. Let me know if it's too loud, because I did put you where the music is playing. But if you're just joining us, I'm live streaming to YouTube a project we're working on where we're building out the fascia board and the trims on a residential project that I'm working on. And this is probably the best part about doing things in Revit, is because once you have it modeled and you take your sections and you have your elevations, everything is just updated there. So the second you model something in 3D, it shows up in all of your other views. You don't have to draw it in independently. I was trying to use this earlier to like get my phone propped up. I know this is a very off-topic live, Model with Mel, telling you about my struggles here, but I did want to prop you guys up, but I don't think it's going to happen. So go over to YouTube. Yeah, I have to get a tripod, but for the camera on YouTube, but it's just like, I have this one, and I need one that like stands on the ground, so from an angle you guys can see far away. Let me flip it back around. Alright, so you could select a profile, and these are all just preset ones in Revit. So I'm going to do 1x12. And something that I actually like to do is I like to, if I'm going to use 2 pieces of fascia trim, instead of doing it separately, as in I'll do the example separately and then I'll show you what I do to simplify that, we go to roof, fascia, 1x12, and you click the roof edge here. It is completely giving you that surface area projecting off of the building the exact depth that it typically is. It's standard set up to be 1/2 inch, I believe, or 3/4 inch. So that's what it's set up as. But what we can do is we can go over here in the project browser and we can scroll all the way down to I believe it's families. Yep. And we can go into the profiles and see, here we go. So profiles, and we open it up, and the fascia flat profiles are here. So 1x12. What sometimes you can do, this is an option to do it both ways, is you can do the fascia and select a smaller one and put it over it. It's just a different color, so it's standing out, but it's actually, that works out in the favor for this example. I can do 2 different pieces to really add 2 pieces of fascia trim along my eave of my roof. And this is something that you'll see in practice on residential houses. Sometimes it's just simple and it's 1 piece of fascia trim. And again, trim is just a piece of wood, like a 1x piece of wood. And it means a 1x is really like 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick. And the height of it depends on whether it's a 1x8 or a 1x12, those numbers that we're seeing when we're clicking on the fascia board. So we can stack them like this. That does add more layers or pieces to our model. But another thing that I like to do is actually go into the fascia profile. So it looks like I'm going to need something a little bit more, a little bit deeper to cover this roof depth. That's a tongue twister. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the profile family and I'm going to adjust it. And so if we go into this, we can hit type properties, and we can adjust the thickness and the height of it here. So what I'm going to do is make that a lot deeper. Let's do 1x2 and see if that's long enough. It needs to be a little bit longer, so we're going to go back into the type properties here and make it 1x3. And again, this is just like the depth of the roof here. If we go into the construction of the roof, we can see what's making it so thick. So we have 2x12 rafters, we have wood sheathing, and we have a roof shingle layer, which is how it would be built in real life. And then the depth of this here, we just edited to be real big. And you would just adjust how it's actually constructed in section. So if we go to type properties, there's no piece of wood that's this tall, but what you would do is you would like set the wood halfway down and then lap the piece of wood on top of it. So there is this full piece of fascia board, and if we want to change the profile of it, that's another option here. We could adjust the profile by actually going into the family and changing the profile, because it's loaded to just be this flat profile and we're following it along the fascia. So I just went into edit and pulled open the actual family, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create the profile of what it would be if it was 2 pieces of fascia board. So I know from figuring out the height that it's 1'3", and you can't see it, that I need to turn on the ability to see dimensions. I can use these blue ones, so we'll do 1'3" and 1/4. And we're going to remove constraints because we're going to just make this specific to this project. When you remove constraints, basically you're taking away the editability of it. And usually when I'm creating families, I'm just creating things for instances of projects and not necessarily something that I'm going to completely edit. And maybe that's not a great habit to get into, but I don't create a lot of editable families. I'll just create it for my instance. So what we're going to do is, we know this bottom piece is going to be this whole profile tall. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take more lines, create line, and we're going to draw the profile 3/4 of an inch over, and we're going to extend it 9.25 inches down, and they're just standard sizes of wood. And that's the profile of my fascia board that I would want to use. In reality, I'm not going to leave it like this, but in reality, if it were to be built, the pieces of wood would lap each other and they would look something like this. So to bring this piece of wood all the way down, we'll make this 11 1/4, the biggest it can be, and then we'll trim it up here and delete that at the top. So it would look something like this. This one in the back would be longer. It would be a 2x12, which is the max height a piece of wood can be. And then this one lapped on top of it would be a 2x8 or 2x10 is what I made it. It's 9 1/4. So that's a little bit what it would look like if you were doing a detail section. Now I'm just creating the profile that I want my fascia to be, and that's what it would break down to be, but we just want the profile. So I'm going to connect these lines, and now we just have the profile of the fascia. And I'm going to do a save as, because I want this to be a different name, a different profile. So we were using fascia flat, and I'm going to use this and call it fascia double 12/10, because those are the pieces of wood I'm using. So we created this profile, and now I'm going to load it into the project. And we're in a 3D view I have preset to look sketchy. I don't know why it took me to a different view. This is a view we were using. So now that I've loaded that in, I can go into edit, type, and I can select the profile, and now it's loaded in. And it's giving me all the other instances for some reason. I don't really know why. Looks like I might have made it too tall. I'm not 100% sure why it's showing up like this, which is interesting. It is changing based on the height. I don't know why it's upside down. Or it's almost inverted, which means the axis of the profile and the family that I was using must have been inverted. I need to go back into it and take a look at that. So we'll go back in, and this just says level 1, and it's this floor plan level. You can't even go to a 3D view because it's just a profile. So let's take a look at what this is doing. I'm going to window tile it. Alright, yeah, so it does look like it's just upside down. Which, I don't know why it's upside down. Alright, I actually think that looks correct now that I've changed this. I don't know why it's not lower. Let's see if we can create it new. So, just trying to figure out what this needs to be, how this needs to be fixed so that it appears correctly. And it does look to just be backwards almost, or further up. I can't exactly tell why it's doing that, but we're going to figure it out. So let's bring this down. Let's delete this. I have this other window open so that we can look at the family I made and figure out why our facial profile is looking like this. So we're going to bring this down. Two inches. Let's go to a section. '" I don't know why it's putting it up here. That's probably where the top of it was. So maybe let's start over. Families can be a little tricky sometimes because they have a lot of specific ways that they're set up. So let's go back into the fascia flat. This is the bottom point, this is the top point, and the constraints that were picked out. So the constraint here, we don't want to mess with the top of it, I believe. So we're going to just increase the bottom. We're going to do 1.3. I can't remember if that's what we did before. I think it might have been what we did before. We could also just move it, but I want it to be where it's supposed to be when I'm clicking it. So we're drawing the profile that we are going to use, but we want it to work when I click the edge of it. Alright. .25, and then we'll save it as something else. I think this is like the same steps I just took, but if the top is like that, I don't know why it's not working and being placed at the top of the roof line like it's supposed to be. If it doesn't work the next time, we'll row with it. It's not that huge of a deal. so it worked that time with the new family. So fascia, I'm going to rename this double. And we went in, we changed the profile to be fascia D because I just renamed the new one that we just fixed D, and now we can adjust the size of it, which it's working good. And it fits perfectly, and now you don't have to have multiple pieces of your fascia trim. You just have your profile that's as if two pieces were sitting on top of each other instead of adding more bits and bobs and pieces that you don't necessarily need. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select this, and I'm going to add and remove segments, and I'm going to select the top edge of the rest of the roof. And because I hit add and remove segments, it's going to add them to all one category here. And I accidentally added one below it, so we're going to just remove that. So it puts them all in one like object together, and then if I needed to, I could move them all at once. When I select the roof fascia tool again, I'm going to put fascia double, and then I start the command again, it's creating an entirely different set of objects together. So you just want to keep in mind, like, one sweep around the whole thing, you want to click on into it at the same time, so that when and if you need to move them, you're doing that all together instead of separate. So those two would go together as well. Alright, and I'm just going to go around. Do we like it as white or do we like them as black? Let's go around, add a segment here, and we can actually pull this in since it's just this corner piece. Do we like it white or do we think the fascia should be black? So I could go into this material, and because the profile is associated with the material, if I change it here to be black, it will change it everywhere. I personally like a black fascia board, especially if the rest of it is white, just because I think it goes better with the trim of the windows. This is very modern and contemporary style, and that's what I like to do a lot of. So now you can see we're just doing one click and we're giving that double fascia board look. It's giving us less pieces to have to worry about moving and keeping together by doing the profile all in one sweep. Alright, and it's just so quick for me to go around and apply my fascia boards everywhere, and then it shows up in all of my drawings, like all of them. And when I cut it in section, I can just add in and draw in the detail, sort of like we talked about in the family when I was breaking down the parts and pieces. So let's focus on the front now. I'm just going to save. And this is what Model with Mel is all about, is like, I'm going through and designing things and trying out these new ways of making my life easier by doing like a double fascia profile, but I don't always know right away, like when I load things in and it's not in the right spot, why that's happening. And then you get to sit here and see, how I troubleshooted it, how I figured out, like, I just needed to move it down because that was the top constraint of the previous profile that I brought in and edited. And that's what I do a lot, is I will take an existing family from anything, and if I need to, I'll manipulate it. But I'm never usually starting a family from scratch completely. So that's what I do. That's how I go about it. And let's add some trim here. I also want to add a ground plane because I want to add a water table. And you'll see what a water table is. I'll explain it. Alright. I don't know if I want there to be a piece of trim there. I think I might just have it be flat instead of double. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do with that. We need to put a little wall there. But let's finish doing the roof fascia for the front here. what we can do is we can do something called modify the edge or miter the edge, and you can just select this and it flattens it out for you instead of having that really weird ending that it just had. And then we can just bring it down a little bit to connect it. And it's right now, it's kind of hard to see because it's black, so I'm going to make it hidden line. But if I wanted the lines to disappear, I could use the join tool here, join geometry, and it should get rid of it. Alright, it didn't, but that's fine. Alright, I'm going to turn the color back on because I like to look at it when it's not all white and harsh on my eyes. We're going to go in now and put a wall here. So let's go to a floor plan, second floor plan, turn off our CAD file here, and let's draw in a wall. So I'm going to take my standard 2x6 wall that's loaded into the project. I'm going to draw it here, and I'm going to put it to the edge of that roof. Alright, so you can see we have a little bit of a crazy wall here. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to fix that. So I'm just going to pull it out and go to 3D. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the top base over here to the roof. And it's automatically going to cut that wall to the roof, which is crazy. I love that tool. I'm going to do something in 3D, but I don't recommend doing this in 3D if you're new. I'm going to select this little node here on the wall, and I'm going to hold the shift button, and I'm going to drag it out in 3D just to pull it a little bit further into the roof, up to the edge. And now I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the base of the wall to this soffit that we've created. It doesn't look like it wants to do that, but we can actually adjust it here as well with this little push-pull. Right like that. And then we can see if we could join these two pieces together, which we could, the soffit and the wall, so that there's no line there anymore. And now we have that wall continued. I'm also gonna take that and put it over on the other side, so I'm just gonna copy it. And then I'm gonna bring it in and do the same thing, attach the top of it to this roof. And then I'm going to pull this one down and join it so that the siding is the same on this wall. So I'm going to temporarily hide that by doing HH. And then I'm going to join this to the soffit, and it's going to match up that material. So now we have those two walls built in. I want to add some columns, and I'm going to go to Revit City really quick to find some that will work well for us. So I will teach people how to create their own columns from scratch out of walls and cutting profiles in them, and something if you need it super detailed and specific, I want you to know how to create it on your own. But for this project, I'm just going to use some standard columns, and so I'm going to go to Revit City and I'm going to download a column family, and hopefully it's made well, because sometimes on Revit City they're not made very well. So I do believe I found a column before on this website that is editable, and it has like top trim and base trim and a lot of good pieces to it. I am searching for it now. Let me pull up the profile. So this is what I'm seeing. Mediterranean columns. I just searched columns. Let me see if I have anything loaded in here. I didn't even check. I don't think I saved it though, so I didn't bother looking, but I'm gonna now. Column, no. Here. Trying to think of things it might be called. And I just have these basic wood ones loaded in. And then some structural ones loaded in as well. So none of the fancy ones that I'm looking for. Let's go back to Revit City and see if we can find a column worth downloading that has some top trim and some bottom trim. So this one is circular, and I like how it has different details at the top and the bottom. That's what I'm going for, but square. So maybe we could look into this one. Okay, that one's crazy. Let's see what this one looks like. If it would click into it, we would know. Let's see. So this definitely wasn't the column that I've used before and downloaded before. I don't know if I got it off this website or if I got it off of BIM Object. I'm sad that I didn't save it because I remember it being a great column. Oh, sorry. My phone won't stay steady. I'm gonna get a tripod for my phone for next time. But YouTube is where it's at for the quality of this. So let me see if BIM Object has it. Okay. Trying like porch column, something different in Revit City to see if it brings up any other options. I'm not seeing any on BIM Object. So I found these ones, but we're not exactly using that style. I really wanted like a thin one with trim on the top and trim on the bottom. So I might just have to build it myself since I can't find it. Revit City is taking so long to load. I could try those Mediterranean ones, but I'm really disappointed that I didn't save that column that I know I've downloaded before. I'll have to find it at a different time, but we'll build out those columns next week. I'm going to add the floor plate here. So I'm going to temporarily hide my CAD file that I'm using, and I'm going to draw in. I don't really love using the topo solid. They have made some improvements to it that make me like it a little more than I did before, but we'll see. Alright, so I have not used these new Topo Solids tools, so we're testing them out together. Subdivide. I'm trying to subdivide this garage area to be lower. Has to be a positive value, okay. Not gonna work. Unless we put this at the garage level. Alright, let's delete this, put this at garage slab level. Then we use this for the front porch. Make this a little thicker so that it touches the ground. Alright, let's see if we can modify this to slope upwards, but only where the garage is. I need to watch a tutorial on this because I have not used the Topo Solids since they've updated them from like 2020. I just never really have a reason to use them. I'm normally using flat surfaces, and that's definitely an area I want to look into for myself to get better at. But I'm going to leave it here for now at the garage level. Flush with the garage. And then this in the back will just be floating, which is fine. Let's make this actually look like green or something a little bit more pleasing. So, because I'm not going to use the Topo Solids today, I am going to do what I would normally do, which is just create a floor slab. And I'm just going to do pavement for where I'm going to have the garage be. And again, we want to put that on the garage slab. And then what I do is I create a different layer for grass. And I know you could do this with the Topo Solids. I am going to figure out how to do it, but this is just another way, another option that has always worked for me. And what I'm going to do today. I'm going to take the time to learn about Topo Solids, so I'm not struggling on the live here trying to learn it as I go with you guys. I would rather it just be like a little bit quicker of me doing something. And I use this method all the time, and I'm going to use it today and it'll be fine. So I don't have a grass created. We're going to go to duplicate pavement. We're going to call it grass. Then we're going to go in here and we're just going to make it actually a grass material, which we'll just make green. And then I'm just going to do this entire piece, and I'm going to do the area around here that isn't going to be covered in grass, which is obviously going to be the building footprint itself. And I'm just making sure I'm on the outline of the wall here. Of the deck. That was pretty sloppy. Alright, and now we have that. And we'll also put this at the garage slab. So I gotta put a floor slab in there so it doesn't just look like it's floating. We're gonna do that as well. Alright, and I'm just gonna draw a perimeter around that. Hello, welcome to the live. I'm live streaming myself modeling a residential house. I need to work on getting a stand for my Instagram, but I'm live streaming to YouTube, where you can actually see my screen being shared of what I'm doing, and it's way better quality. But I like to go live on YouTube as well to my community here, so I try and go live in both places at the same time. Only my tripod needs to come in the mail so that I can have my phone be propped up and not falling constantly. So that's where we're at. But right now I'm working on drawing in the floors for the project that I've been working on, so that it doesn't look like it's just been floating in space. Right now I'm just doing the interior of the walls. I should move them to the exterior. Realistically, that's how it would be built. Just gonna go fix that real quick. Revit is really like snaps. The lines will snap to the walls and things will align because it is like an orthogonal program, which is kind of how people give it a bad rep because everything is so square and boxy. But in reality, that's just how architecture is sometimes, square and boxy. So now that we have our floor drawn, it's telling me my loop isn't closed up here, so I'm going to do trim and trim that up. And now we have our floor inside, looking great. Our deck's on the outside, we have our pavement, and we have our grass. So that's just one way of making like a floor plate look like your exterior. If you have some really drastic changes in topography, obviously the topo solid is going to be better. But again, I've never really used the topo solid or had a reason to use it. So I'm not too familiar with it. But it's going to be one of the things that I definitely look into learning about, because not every project is going to be flat. I'm also going to adjust this because the garage is going to be a different material and it's going to be lower down. And this right now is excuse me, I can't stop coughing, is the interior floor. Awesome, glad you found the YouTube live. So let's do a new floor. And we'll do concrete this time. In the garage. And we'll actually put it at the garage level so it's not like poking through like that. And now we have our floor plates inside. I don't like how you can see through the wall here, so I'm going to put this section box and show you what I'm talking about. I don't like how you can see through this floor plate. So what I'm going to do is go into edit boundary, go into the first floor, and I'm just going to pull that back just so you can't see it. It's not the exact location it would be in real time. Actually, I'm going to undo that because what I need to do is different than what I thought I needed to do. And you'll see in a second. So the floor was in the right spot. That's where it's going to be construction-wise. What I need to do to make this 3D image look better is actually bring this down to the garage slab to cover that. So I'm changing the wall height to go down all the way to the garage slab. And now you can't see that floor slab. I thought I needed to move the floor slab out of the way previously, but then it would have been incorrect on how it would be built, and I tried to model everything as close to how it would be built in real life. So this is our concrete slab. It's showing up with a hatch pattern in plan, which I hate, so we're going to go change that real quick in the materials. And the surface pattern I'm going to change to just be nothing. The background I'm going to change to just be nothing. And the cut pattern, I'll leave it. If it's being cut, it can show that. But now it's just typical white. And we will eventually be building out the interior, but I always like to focus on the exterior of the project first, and then I'll focus on building out the interior. I do have an interior floor plan from Emily. She designs them, and then I bring the exterior to life and make it buildable with Revit, and we create stock plans out of these, and we work together to just use both of our minds to create a brand new project each time. And I come on live weekly and go through the entire design process live with you guys, and you see me real time going through the design decisions and also like figuring out how to do certain things modeling wise, as you've seen so far today. So that is good. We have all that stuff sort of created. I do think I want to create a fascia piece at the bottom here to give us an end cap, but maybe with just a single piece of fascia. So we'll do this, and then we'll kind of manipulate it and flip it up and see how that works. I do want it to match the bottom, so I'm gonna do some adjusting in 3D just to get it to match the bottom there, and I'm going to see if they'll join up and clean. Did say I wanted to unjoin something instead of join it, which is weird. Can't cut joined element. Okay. Well, we could pull it like that, and also make this smaller so it's not cutting into it as much. So we'll use the flat fascia profile. We'll change it to 4. 4 looks funny. I feel like we need something at the bottom of this. Maybe it needs to be the 12. Does that look weird though? Proportionally, let's see it in 3D. Let's turn off our section box. It's getting in my way. If I add a segment, maybe it will be no overlapping lines, like there's lines here. Let's see if that works. Add a segment. Nope, because it wants to add the same profile. So I'm going to undo that, because we just want this to be a simple flat profile. I don't know if that's too big. I don't think it is, because it matches like the band in the front, and it looks like it's wrapping around, only it's not 2 pieces of trim. Should it match the trim? Maybe. Maybe we do need to do that. Okay, just kidding. Let's do it as a separate piece so they're not connected, because clearly connecting them was not a good sign. Alright, and then what if I move this up instead of flipping it up? I moved it haphazardly. You can see it wasn't perfect. But I need to move it perfectly so that they blend into each other. I'm going to keep trying to join these surfaces. Oh, yes! I'm so excited that they joined. They have to be perfectly aligned with each other in order for you to get a nice clean join with the fascia trims. It was not working before. It's not working with these ones, but I'm not too... You can see they're not perfectly aligned. So let me see. Do I like the way this looks, though? With this band having a strong line and then this dying into it, or do I want it to be connected like this profile is? Let's see. I'm going to move this over a tad so that it's lined up properly. Move it over. It won't move. I think it's because the roof edge would need to move itself. Yes. I am just guessing that that's the line it needs to be moved to adjust everything. And then we just need to reform our roof edge here. My music stopped. It's fine. You probably couldn't even hear it, but for me, it was there. So we're going to use this roof tool and reconnect it. Why can't the roof be joined? Something I did about... I moved the profile too far and it overlapped it too far. So I'm just going to keep it as is, because basically if you edit the footprint when you're connecting it, if it's on the line, it won't let you join it. I don't know why. It's a weird Revit thing. I'm going to move it as close as possible without actually being on it. It'll still stay connected. But I can't move this in at all. I'm going to try to move it in, but it doesn't work. So that's alright. I do like the way that that front piece looks as separate pieces, and then this corner here that they connect. I'm also going to add a piece on the bottom here, but it might take up the entire bottom edge. We'll see. Again, I just have to move it in 3D to be in line with the other one. Where did that just disappear to? Might have been on the inside of the wall by accident. It was. Alright. We'll put it there and then we'll move it over from here. And then we'll join it so it doesn't look like that. Cleans up. Doesn't look as good. Obviously, this has a lot more depth and height and wall, so it looks better. This is such a small piece. I do think we might benefit from doing a flat, tiny 2x4 profile right here. I'm just going to bring it down. Alright, and then I'm going to bring the wall right up to hit the top of the profile. I could also move the side of the profile out a little bit. flipping it there. I don't want to do that. I could move the soffit in a little bit. Alright, so that did fix it, but I don't know if I did the soffit too much. Let me hide this real quick. Yeah. So I'm just going to edit the boundary in 3D Live here. Okay, let's look at this in color. I think it needs to be a little bit thicker. 2x6. Again, we'll just adjust it. I think a 2x6 piece of trim here might look good. It's just such a small piece of wall. I'm just going to bring the wall up. But I think that looks good. And then I'm going to add black corner boards to this. Alright, we have to add our wall here in the front. And we'll just adjust it manually. And then we'll hit attach top to the walls. Said it would need to unjoin. I'm not sure why. Okay. So we need to change the constraints of the wall in order to have it cut off. I'm going to put the base constraint okay. And it's not totally underneath the roof, so it's not totally cutting it off, so we just need to move that back. And now the wall is being completely cut and attached to the roof above it. I'm just going to go here and just make sure I move this to the edge of the roof in plan. Nice and clean, all aligned. And this is what we're left with. I do think I want this to be just white. I don't think I want it to have lines. Could probably put the number of the house up here. Could toy around with that. We could also change it. I'm not exactly sure what I want to put there. Let me find model text. I'm going to put the address, just like the numbers, 26. And we're going to do a set work plane to do this. We're going to pick a plane and we're going to pick this front wall to be the surface. I want to make sure that I'm selecting this wall. But it's further back than these fascia are. Oop. Alright, before I do that, I'm going to hide the fascia so I can easily select that wall. So, 26. We'll see what the number looks like there. If you guys have any better ideas for what we could do with this portion of this roof, let me know. I'm open to suggestions. Let's select that work plane. And I just want to select the face of it. So I'm tabbing here until I select the face of it. I just did that. And we're going to place our text again. And now this is our work plane. So I can change the height of it, the text size of it. I can change everything about this. I can even change the font of it. So right now the depth is also at 6 inches. I'm going to make that a little smaller. I'm going to move it here. And I'm going to turn all the fascia back on. I don't know. Do the letters look good there? The numbers look good there? Or should it be something else? I also think I'm going to make this metal roofing. And then up here will just be normal roofing. But metal roofing we can actually make the ribs for to really pop out. Alright. I'll leave it there for now. I'm not sure if I love it. Maybe we'll come up with something else for the front. But let's add in some corner boards. I always think I'm going to get so much more done than what I get done in an hour. Every single time. Every single time. I think I'm going to get so much more done with the model. But it's okay. We'll do a split face for this. So I'm going to select this wall. And there's already a split face here for this material split. It's one wall and I've created a split face. So I'm going to create another one. Let's go activate the command up here, split face. And we'll select the wall. And let's go to this view. I want to go to an elevation view. Okay, and then I want to create a piece of trim going this way. So there's a few different ways we can create trim. We can physically do it. We can fake it with a split face, which is what I'm about to show you, which is just drawing in a line to represent the width of the material and then painting that whatever color you want it to be. So I'm going to keep up with the black trim, and I could paint that. So that's one way to do the trim. Another way to do the trim is to actually physically model it with a wall or something. Like you make that size. The issue with that is the walls want to connect to things and join, and that gets a little bit messy. But another way we could do it where it's actually like a built out piece that has depth, like the fascia and trim, is actually something I started using recently, which is these tools over here, wall sweep and wall reveals. So the wall sweep acts similarly to how the fascia tool acts, and right now we just have the wall sweep with the cornice profile loaded in, and there's not a lot of options here for the profiles. It's just pre-cast, like these are just what's loaded in, but we can do exactly what we did with the fascia, and we can manipulate it and make it our own profile. I'm just going to do the default, which is just a square, and these are all just preset ones, but we're just going to want to manipulate the default one anyways. And what I can do is I can do horizontal or vertical. So we are going to do water table, which is trim at the bottom, but we are going to do these like vertical pieces as well. So I'm going to put one right here where I did the split face, and I'm going to go into this profile and make it more accurate. The trim wouldn't be sticking this far outside of the wall. I want to pick the shape of it. So I can't remember if the depth is controlled here. We're going to go into wall sweep, cornice, and profiles for that. So back down to the families, we're going to scroll down to the profiles. And it's going to be the profiles for cornices, I believe. I'm trying to find the profile for this so I can edit it. So it's just wall sweep, cornice profile. So maybe I have to go down to the wall sweep family. I basically need to find it so I can go into it. Here we go. Wall sweep, soldier brick, cornice. We want wall sweep, but not soldier brick cornice. So I'm trying to find that. Sill precast, wall sweep brick soldier course. Alright, we'll go into the wall sweep and we'll edit this one. We'll make it 7 1/4. But what we're going to do is we're going to make it really thin. So I don't know why it won't change. The constraints are off. So I could also create a new family from scratch, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to push this back into the wall and just fake it for a second. Alright, so I don't want it sticking out from the wall that much. We're going to push it in. I would go and edit it, but I couldn't find it, and for the sake of time, I'm going to keep moving on. But we would change it the same way we changed the profile for the fascia board to make it fit exactly how we want it to fit here. I'm just simply adjusting where it is in the wall and pushing it into the wall so that it looks like it's only sticking out of the building a certain amount. Right, I'm just faking that. So I would go through and find it, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that right now. Wall sweep brick is what I was trying to change, but it just wasn't working really great. And so I would just create my own profile for this to work. I need to go into this and remove the paint, because when I removed the split face, it pushed the black split face everywhere. Alright, and we'll make this black. And I'm going to move it so that it's flush. And now we have a piece of trim. We can see the width of it by measuring it here. It's about 6 inches, so that's fine. And I have it sticking out the exact depth that I want it to be. Can't be on the split element or it does say an error, but I'm going to move it as close to it as possible. And I want to look at the north elevation. So I think I like the trim there. I do like how it's like in the middle of this trim. I'm going to copy this and put it over here as the corner board and see how that works out. I have done the split elements in the past for the sides of the corner boards, but I am willing to see how these wall sweeps look. See, they are showing up in the walls, so I will have to fix them, but I'm going to do that off camera, where I just adjust the profile of them so that they're flush to the wall and not actually sitting inside the wall. But for the view right now, it looks like it's correct, so that's okay. And we're just going to add another corner board Okay. We could actually use this as a corner board. So we can move this in so it's only an inch off. 3/4 inch off. And I will fix the profile so that it is actually not jutting into the wall. We'll align this here, and then we'll have it stick out here as well, because we have this almost like column like depth to it right now, so it can fit in the corner like that. And then in 3D, it looks like that. And we have to add the corner boards all around, so it's definitely going to take some time. I'm going to paint this white. And then this garage will be the other material. You can also align patterns, so like the line here, I can select that with there and align that so it looks correct. I don't know what's wrong with this wall, but it's acting up. Alright, so that's all we're doing for today. I'm going to go in and I'm going to adjust the depth of these, the profile of this. Should we use wall layering for external material? So this is a wall sweep, and it's just creating like a trim. I have used an actual wall, like activated the wall command and made it a 1-inch piece of trim. See, it's loaded in and drawn corner boards in that way. But the reason I don't use the actual wall tool to make the corner boards anymore is because you have to like select them and deselect them, and they start to join each other, and it becomes a little bit messier in the model. You can do it that way with walls, but this newer way of doing it that I figured out with the wall sweep, where you can actually position if it's vertical or horizontal, and then you can go in and adjust the profile of that and how it sits inside the wall. That helps out to keep the model clean, because this isn't really necessarily attaching to anything, and it just works a lot better as a wall sweep. The third option again is to do a profile split face and not actually have it have any depth, but just have it be like a split surface that you're just painting differently. That's another option you can do. So there's really 3 different ways you could do the trim, and it's just up to you on how you decide to do the workflow of it. You can see obviously this is like jutting into the wall right now, and I'm just faking the way that it's sitting in there, but I'm going to go and adjust the profile. I just have to figure out how to do that, and I'm going to do it off camera just because it's going to be like, I have to go create a whole separate family for it instead of just editing the wall sweep of the brick, and I'm just going to do that off camera. So this is what we got today, guys. Let me know what you think, if we should change anything about the front. I'm going to work on those columns and finding some columns for next week, and I'm going to work on updating this profile for the corner wall sweeps, and we'll add more in next time, and we'll do some water table trim as well. But we are almost done with our exterior build out, and then we have the entire interior that we get to play with. This one has a lot of cool features to it on the inside that I'm excited to try and create with you guys. So I'll see you on the next Model with Mel next week, same time, same place, on Instagram and YouTube, and I would love it for you guys to follow along and let me know how it's going for you, and tag me in your models on Instagram if you are following along with this exercise. All right, I will see you guys next week. Have a good week, and I'll talk to you then.